Thomas, hello, how are you doing?
I'm good, and yourself?
I am good. It's good to be back again.
Thank you. It's been a long time. I was traveling this beautiful continent.
Yeah, I mean, it is indeed beautiful. A lot has been going on in the continent for the past few days.
Definitely. People are on the streets for sometime for protest and sometime for because their house have been destroyed. But so let's talk about it.
Yeah, Nairobi, let's start from Nairobi, Kenya. We have seen some protests going on, people going on the streets, and Raila Odinga is the one who is trying to inspire people to get on the streets. And the situation has been the same in South Africa. And we have seen
Yeah.
Malema and EFF trying to push people into the streets. And I saw a turn up. I thought it was huge. There was a lot of people coming out. But are these effective, right? And why are they even happening in the first place?
That's interesting. We can speak of both of them together because they are the same. This is the main leader of opposition telling like we take the street because like the situation is not right now. So they do like those kind of like dead ton day where it's those that can march, but those that can't march just strike and don't go to work. So the country is paralyzed. It's definitely from the South African perspective here. It was a success. It was a success for two reasons. Let me show you like the newspaper I just bought this morning, the Sowetans, right? So coming out of Soweto, I'm going to read it for you. Why we don't have top policing daily. So what is that question for? We have noticed over the weekend that cops were everywhere, and Soweto in a lot of townships, but also in the CBD, cops presence, police presence were highly visible, right? So that's the strategy like that they choose to be visible. Some said is to fear protesters to go and protest, but South Africans are also looking at it like, wait, we do have a lot of crime, and now you're telling us that we can actually have that police presence in the country. That's possible now in the township to have so much policemen like taking it out and the best policemen of the country. So the Sowetan ask, why is it that we don't have good cops like every day? So that's one point for the EFF. Now they have demonstrated that things can be different, right? And the second big point is that here we didn't have load shedding, no load shedding at all, no electricity cut for an entire weekend. So we just had like 2 hours during this between the Saturday and the Sunday night, but really nothing compared to what we used to. So now we're all asking ourselves, wait a second, I thought like this load shedding crisis could not be sorted. Now the EFF go to march on a Monday, and on the Saturday and the Sunday, suddenly we have electricity. Renatus, what's that? It's a victory. It's a victory for the economic freedom fighters. It's a victory for Malema. They show South Africans that the country could be ruled differently. Cops could be in the township taking care of insecurity issues, and electricity can be in everyone's home, so to pursue their life.
But why did people get in the streets?
In both Kenya and South Africa, because like living conditions are getting worse, right? So there's inflation in both countries. It's a global things connected to the petrol price. So we haven't seen yet like all those price like drawing. It's just increasing, and so they also are a moment of opportunity for opposition leaders, right? Because that's the people are angry. The president is in power since long enough for try to shake the tree. So people are a bit disappointed by what he done, or the hope of the election is a bit far. And the opposition leader take opportunities. Here, the EFF, they wanted to demonstrate South Africans that we can go on the street and say, this is not okay. We cannot have load shedding all days. Here in South Africa, it's really about the load shedding. And they want Ramaphosa to resign. They said, how can you govern a country that you can't provide us electricity? Like, this is a disaster. This is a disaster. We need Ramaphosa to resign. That's the argument. Now, in a more critical analysis of it, it's both the people are hungry, and right now we don't really have political solutions. That's the reality. That's the reality we are in, and the leadership that is in power in both Kenya and South Africa, if you ask me, lack political imagination to create new solutions for people right now, and it's boiling. It's boiling.
So you're saying that the South Africans are thinking that the elections are far and he has been in power long enough to be able to create change. And that's funny to hear, because recently we have seen visits from President Museveni from Uganda and also President Samia Suluhu Hassan from Tanzania. So it's really interesting how things are unfolding right now. Do you think the people taking it to the streets a few days ago helped in a way to ensure that, right now there's no load shedding, or at least it's minimal as how you were used to it?
100%, 100%, and that's where the victory of the EFF is really good, because what we have is yesterday was Human Rights Day here in South Africa, meaning that the people don't go to work, right? So now if they didn't go to work on the Monday, that means they had a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday weekend, which a lot of workers took. So a lot of people didn't go and march. They went back to the village, they saw their family, and in their family, what did they think? What did they speak about? They spoke about electricity issues, they spoke about the country issues, right? So in that sense, the EFF have been really like an interesting maneuver, because by putting their action day on that Monday, they couldn't fail. They couldn't fail. The country went in holidays. Those that couldn't afford holidays, which are the working class, and those are the ones that the EFF recruit, were present. They marched. They shut down, like they did things. But in reality, the country was in holidays and realized, fuck, I can be in holidays in security because cops are here. I can be in holidays with electricity. What's going on? You know, we were all really surprised. You should check on Twitter. There were a lot of very funny hashtags.
Yeah, I actually joined the Twitter space before people took it to the streets and they're discussing about it. And I was like, well, let me wait and see how this unfolds.
Definitely, definitely. And the last move to close the topic is that Ramaphosa announced the deployment of 3,000 or 4,000 soldiers. I think 3,600 soldiers on the next month. And so we are all wondering, like, why is it that soldiers are being deployed in the streets, in the township also, which is never good to see in South Africa, cops in the township that remind us of apartheid time, you know, like we don't like to see those big dragons, we call them, in the townships. So the army is being deployed now. We're not speaking police. So a lot of commentators think that the president is really concerned about riots. And here we can conclude on that question of riot in Kenya, riot in South Africa, by showing that the people mobilize, that's for sure. But in the other way, those that mobilize are also the power. Power mobilizes itself. And he organized himself to securize what's going on. So let's hope all of this will end up with, without people dying for no reason.
Last week, we had spoken about Cyclone Freddy and the effect that it has been having across the countries. And right now, we're witnessing that it has killed more than 500 people in Malawi, Mozambique, and Madagascar. And it's interesting to see that Tanzania has actually been sending humanitarian aid to Malawi, and it has sent over 1,000 tons of food, provided them with 6,000 blankets, mattresses, tents, and medical supplies, and also sent 100 servicemen and women. And it also provided two heavy lifting military choppers with their own fuel, and also $1 million in cash donations. And I think it's really good to see that African countries are coming together when you have such events happening.
Yeah, they send like 8 tons of drugs as well for release. It's really good. I think it's important we speak of those things as well, as to push that Pan-African agenda of, if a cyclone pass by Tanzania and Zimbabwe, those are like the people of Southern Africa that are being touched, and East Africa, you know, those borders don't make too much sense. So it's good to see that solidarity with Zimbabwe, Malawi, and Mozambique. But also, and I'm sorry to be the annoying one here, Tanzania, Mozambique, Malawi, they should speak more of climate change. Those leaders should express more of climate change, because we can't just send food relief and open a new petroleum project or gas project. All of those countries are inside big industrial complex, like of gas and petrol, that produce the carbon that change the climate. And so what we have seen is the very first cyclone, the longest tropical cyclone in history, passing in and out. And as we speak, Renatus, do you think he has stopped? No, he's there. He's coming back to it. So we're speaking of more than 500 people like being killed over the cyclone so far in Southern Africa and East Africa. This is a dramatic event. We need to understand where does it come from and what can we do as a continent to stop it. And that's not, and solutions of sending food relief are necessary right now. but we also want to make sure that the message passed that we need to to stop that climate change because it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. The GIEC, and that's going to be my last point, the GIEC, the group of experts of climate change, releases last report, and it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse if we don't really act. So we need to think also of what, as a continent, we can do to stop that, because we are the first victim of it. They are in Malawi right now. They're not in Canada.
And what do you think are some of the things that the continent can really do?
Listen, we need to ask ourselves, how do we use the resource we have? So Mozambique has a gigantic gas deposit that will bring him like billions and billions of dollars. Same for Uganda, that have petrol deposit. Do we want those petrol deposit to transform into carbon within matching from the north, so enriching Chinese, enriching maybe Europeans, Americans, but like the factory systems that is the correlation of those matchings? Or do we want to use it here ourselves? Do we want to say no, we do not want to sell those resources, we want to use them so we can finance a transition? How do we finance the transition and the change? I'm not sure, but I do know that things need to be done, and all of this need to be understood with each other. We take petrol and gas outside of Africa, it become carbon. That carbon elevate the temperature on Earth, and that creates cyclones that are bigger, stronger, and that never stops, like the one we're seeing right now, Freddy. So I just want to repeat that, and maybe that could be at the beginning of video, but like there is right now a cyclone that is running around Southern Africa and East Africa, and that do not stop. Like, do we get that? It does not stop. As we speak, it has not stopped. The cyclone, they stop, they pass, they're done. Not this one. It is real. It is dystopic, but it is real. So we need to seriously look at it.
So we're witnessing something different right now.
We need to start doing things differently. We need to start doing things differently. I don't know how to, but that globalization as we know it has created the condition for the climate what we call the Anthropocene, the age on which humans have changed the climate of their own planet. Very first time in history that the species has managed to do that. That's us.
Thank you so much.